Okay, here's another update on my little scope. I guess it helps if I read the manual because it seems like when I was testing this before, I probably wasn't getting the best results because I wasn't using high-speed mode when I should have been. There's a high-speed mode in this scope that's supposed to be, that they recommend to use for over 30 megahertz. That supposedly increases the power consumption also, but you get better results. So let's try the same test I did before. This is starting with my same signal generator at the low end of the IF range. It's around 25 megahertz or so. And as I increase it, I start getting this distortion up around the high end. You can see it says 45, 46 megahertz or so. And if I try to adjust the trigger, I can probably make it look a little bit more clear about what it's doing. Let's leave it in that mode, and then I'm going to go to menu. I'm going to step through here to run mode, and I'm going to push that. And it's changing to high speed mode. And now it's showing I have 47 megahertz and the signal is not nearly as distorted as it was. I can turn it back down and it remains relatively good. Let me lower the amplitude a little bit. Remains relatively good through pretty much the whole range. Up to about 47 megahertz. And it's a little bit wavy here, but not so bad, not nearly as bad as it was before. Let me get out of this mode for a minute. Now I'm going to turn this down, and I'm going to switch my mode over to RF frequencies, which are even higher. And I'm back in normal mode, and if we look at the frequency, it's showing about 50 megahertz, but it's very unstable. If I go up in frequency on my sweep generator, the frequency is actually decreasing and it should be increasing. And this, I think, is what we call aliasing. It's not sampling fast enough to even get the frequency right anymore. As I turn the frequency down on the sweep generator, it actually goes down to around 50 megahertz again. I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to switch to high speed mode again. And now it says 50 megahertz. If I start increasing the frequency, it's still staying somewhat stable. It says 57 megahertz, 58 megahertz, 60 megahertz. By the time I get up to 60 megahertz or so, it starts getting unstable again. Showing 64, 68 megahertz, 69 megahertz, 70 megahertz. And by then it's unstable again, but that's well out of the range that the scope is supposed to be able to handle. It's supposed to handle up to 50 megahertz. But it's measuring on a somewhat distorted waveform about 79 megahertz here. So switching to high-speed mode does seem to help as long as I stay close to 50 megahertz or so. It's still fairly stable. So this does show that it helps to read the manual and get in the right mode. So it looks like it actually handles 50 megahertz better if I put it in high-speed mode. Now I thought I'd try looking at some composite video. I was thinking before I couldn't do this without taking a TV all apart, but I realized I have a composite video output on the back of my converter boxes and the back of various other things, so I'm going to see what the scope can do with some video. This is at the vertical rate, and I can see the vertical retrace pulses and some video information, although the horizontal retrace pulses are completely missing. So it seems like it's filtering out higher frequencies. But as I increase the sweep speed, so I need to be in this setting, increase the sweep speed, I start seeing this strange effect, which is I think horizontal sync pulse is beginning to appear as I turn up the speed. I can still sometimes see the vertical sync pulse at the bottom here and there when it syncs right, when it triggers right. As I go to faster and faster speeds, I can begin to see individual lines of video. Now I'm up to the point of individual lines. And if I can trigger correctly, that's actually the horizontal sync pulse and the color burst on the left side. So I can zoom in on that. And it's not too bad. Zoom back out to more of a full line again, or a full couple of lines. Okay, with that, and I'm going to actually go back all the way to the vertical rate again. And there's another mode in this scope that I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to be doing. In the menus, there's something called sample, and it's set to HD. If I change it to peak, it does this. I'm not quite sure if it's filling in yellow everything that it's emitting that's higher frequency that it's not actually tracing, possibly. Because the bottom is very flat, which is where all the sync pulses, both vertical and horizontal, should be. And I can kind of see gaps at the top, which I presume are the vertical retrace. Now, if I start going back in frequency, up in sweep speed, I can see the horizontal sync pulses appearing again, and now I don't see that all yellow anymore. So I'm wondering if at the vertical rate, if it's filling in solid yellow for everything that it's not tracing, and when I'm not in that mode, if I go back to the HD mode, it's not doing that. So here I am back again, looking at a horizontal sync pulse and color burst on the left and part of the video line on the right. And it's tracing it kind of somewhat adequately. I can try to play with the trigger and see if I can get it any better. That green line at the bottom is the trigger, so I bring it up into where the horizontal sync pulse is. It's more stable. So right there is a fairly stable trace of the horizontal sync on the left and the color burst plus part of a line. And then if I change the time base a little bit, there's the horizontal sync pulse again and more of the line. And there's a complete line in the start of the next line. And those occasional flashes are probably the vertical sync pulses coming in occasionally. So it's kind of doing an okay job, fairly okay job with composite video.